of grandeur. It's pressure. For me, it's a message that the youth are sending me, and that puts even more pressure on me. If I used to manage to sleep 2 hours, now I've cut my sleep down to just 1 hour. And if you shouldn't sleep anymore. Because they must have seen something surely that we're doing. Something that, in their view, could help Africa get out of this situation. For us, it encourages us, it remotivates us to keep fighting. That's why I say it's pressure. It's a very heavy responsibility. And I can promise that all we can do is not to betray, to keep following our path of Pan-African struggle. We hope that it will inspire all African youth, and that the Pan-Africanism we long for so much can become a reality. Because Africa has suffered a lot. It's time for us to unite, to work together, to develop ourselves. Just as Africans go elsewhere to see the world, to see money and everything else there is. In Africa, it's possible. It is possible. So this is our mission, and we are going to take it on.
Mr. President, more and more African countries are asserting their sovereignty and demanding the withdrawal of Western troops from their soil. Recently, for example, Chad, Senegal and Côte d'Ivoire have made similar requests. In your opinion, where did the West go wrong in its relations with the African continent?
Well, what I know is our own situation. We were at war, we lived with Western troops and all that. We saw, and we decided to part ways with those troops because it doesn't fit with our struggle. On the contrary, it actually amplifies the problem. As for the other countries that have separated, I can't speak for them because they made their own decisions to separate. But then President Macron said that he was the one who told them to find a solution and all that. I can't get into that debate. Only they know the truth. But one thing is certain. You can't talk about sovereignty while having another country's army on your soil telling you what to do. The economy, education, the entire development of a country is based on the military. So every country should develop its own army, be sovereign and independent. And that's exactly what we are doing. When I look at the case of Burkina, these foreign armies were present, and that contributed to weakening the Burkinabe army. They stopped recruiting. They are the ones who say what volume to recruit. There was more weaponry, equipment and everything. Even back in 1988 under Sankara, we were better equipped than, well, 10 or 20 years later. And in the end, terrorism entered the country. When terrorism arrived, we didn't have an army. We are still suffering from it today. It's in the midst of war that we are now building an army. So it's normal that it takes a bit of time. We are suffering, but we have to build an army. And when we come out of this war, we must come out stronger. That's what I'm saying. When I look at the statistics of the Soviet army, the number of men they lost, but when they came out of the war, they emerged much stronger. And today, no army has the equipment that the Russian army has. So we too must learn from our war. To come out of the war, we have to be very strong. Sovereignty begins with the army. Once you have a strong army, all the other sectors can easily develop. That's what I can say. That's what led Burkina, in any case, to separate from those armies.
All right. Another topic that persists and is important is the Ukrainian issue. Russia declares itself ready to negotiate without preconditions, while Ukraine constantly imposes constraints. Moreover, Kyiv supports terrorists in the Sahel. In your opinion, who does not want peace for our two countries?
I think that even before now, there was the Turkish President Erdogan, who managed to create a framework for dialogue. And I believe that the two presidents met at that time. It was only the beginning of the operation. All of us hoped that it would lead somewhere, that the weapons would fall silent, and that everyone would return to good intentions. But it was the Westerners who came and told the Ukrainian president not to accept. We followed all that, and in the end, what did it lead to? Well, I think all of this falls under manipulation. I think they were manipulated. Otherwise, the Ukrainian and Russian peoples were, well, it was the Soviet Union, They are brothers. How is it that hatred and Russophobia could be cultivated within this population? The war did not start in 2022, it started in 2014. This is also a reality that many people perhaps don't know, or that people refuse to acknowledge. It was in 2014 that the war began. And today, people are surprised to see that others might be shifting the blame onto Russia and all that. When Russian-speaking civilians were being bombed in 2014, who was speaking out? There are images that still exist. People were locked inside houses and burned. There are images that are there, but action should have been taken all that time. They were manipulated. And today, the reality is plain to see. You see, all the aid that was given, it wasn't really aid. They were told to hand over their minerals. In reality, Ukraine no longer belongs to the Ukrainians. They were manipulated, and now they are the losers. All sectors will be managed.